So, Marathon playtest, its server slam just came out yesterday. I played a couple of hours of it yesterday, and I played about one game today to try to prepare for the stream. And I kind of wanted to talk about it, my thoughts on it, and why I personally feel like Marathon is kind of weird. Marathon, in my opinion, is actually not too different from Vampire Survivors in that Marathon is essentially a roguelite, but it's called an extraction shooter. Extraction shooters are essentially just roguelites, but first person, right? Or third person, depending on what game you're playing. Arc Raiders. Uh, I'm saying this specifically because essentially, with roguelites, you kind of start with nothing, you build up to something, and depending on how long you go, either you survive or you die. Either you beat the game or you don't. And once you're done, you're done. You start over from zero. The progress you made during that game is carried over in, little progression things you can do. The power ups in Vampire Survivors, the upgrades you can get in Vampire Survivors specifically. You can get more power, more damage, more health, movement speed, more XP. With extraction shooters, specifically Marathon, the similar system is the contractors. You're able to upgrade them, and you're able to get quicker loot speed. You're able to take less fall damage. You're able to, I think, resist hazardous conditions, gain stamina back, increase your vault space, that kind of thing. And so I think in trying to conceptualize what Marathon is trying to do and what his kind of point is, and why I think it feels weird, I think comparing it to Vampire Survivors is extremely relevant. But first, I want to talk about Vampire Survivors first. Vampire Survivors, the goal at first of Vampire Survivors is you play the game. You start out as Antonio right there in the top left. You start the game. You have no power ups. You have no upgrades. You have no gold. You just start. You start it. You play in stage one. And your only goal is survive. Literally, that's it. That's the singular goal you have. And eventually, you are able to survive. You will survive 5 minutes and maybe die. Some of that gold that you got over the course of that game, you then take and get some upgrades, and then your next run is made easier. And then, so essentially, your goal is constantly trying to survive a little bit longer. So you go from 5 minutes to 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and slowly over time, depending on how many runs you do, whether you get lucky, whether you get better at the game, on what kind of weapons you get, what kind of drops you get, you're able to survive longer. And eventually, the wall that was in front of you, that being the just trying to survive, eventually you hit the wall when you get to 30 minutes. And that wall, the second wall that you hit, is literally the death wall. At 30 minutes in Vampire Survivors, death, literally, a Grim Reaper will come at you and literally just kill you. You can't stop it. And so you've hit another wall. So at first, it was just trying to survive longer. Now it's you trying to beat death. I die here. Ignore that. And through the process of hitting this wall, it kind of leads you into trying to figure out, unless you're looking up guides online, I'm just going to assume you're not going to. The game doesn't really need you to look up guides online. In the game itself, there's a menu called achievements. And in the menu, you have unlocks. And then the unlocks are basically the achievements in the game. Do this thing and you'll get a reward. And the game kind of cleverly just says, hey, this is how you unlock stuff. And so you would just naturally think, okay, well, I guess I got to unlock more stuff to beat death. And thus ensues the pulling of the string. You are slowly, as playing the game, you are basically pulling this string to unravel it. You are playing the game. You are trying to survive. You're slowly powering up your character, and you're unlocking different characters. You're unlocking different stages, and you're getting different unlocks. And those unlocks keep pulling you along keep pulling you along through the game to keep you playing. There's a goal essentially. And eventually, eventually you get strong enough, you unlock certain items and you're able to get past the wall, which is beating death. But with Vampire Survivors, death isn't actually the final wall. If you want to know that, go play the game. But I want to put this idea of a wall or hitting a wall or pulling a string in the context of marathon, where I feel as if that doesn't really currently exist in its idea. Now, the playtest itself is not the full game. I understand that, but I have a hard time understanding what literally what the point is. What are we trying to reach after? What's the wall that we're hitting in the game? And what's the kind of string we're pulling to unravel the whole thing to get past that wall? So I'm going to keep talking about that in a second. But as always, as you know, if you watch this channel and watch my streams enough, I'm going to talk about Monster Hunter. So Monster Hunter, whilst it's not like Marathon, I think it provides a good example of what I'm talking about here with the pulling the string, hitting a wall, and then pulling the string to be able to kind of get past that wall. So in Monster Hunter, if you haven't played it, I would highly suggest playing it. Literally any Monster Hunter, highly suggest. They're all perfect. Get mad at me in the comments. Monster Hunter, when you first start the game, you are a rank 1 hunter. You have just joined the hunting guild, and you are basically told, hey, okay, you just joined the hunting guild. Here's a weapon, here's some armor, and here's a quest. Go hunt the monster. There's going to be tutorials. They're going to teach you how to move around, how to fight and all that. But they're going to just give you a quest and say, hey, go hunt this monster. And as you should, unless you're new to the series, it's probably going to be pretty easy. If you're new to the series, it might be a little difficult, but generally the first quest in the Monster Hunter games isn't the most difficult. And eventually, once you do defeat the monster, whether it took you 1 or 2 tries, you'll finish the quest. You'll be able to carve the monster. You'll get some rewards. You'll get some money. You'll get some research points, and you'll get some parts from the monster. And then you go back to whatever town you came from. And they said, hey, great, here's another quest. And they give a reason behind a quest, a story, whatever reason. And the monster is going to be a little bit more complex and just a little bit harder. And this progression that you are doing is hunting the monster and getting another quest, hunting a new monster, getting another quest. And slowly over time, the monster starts to get a little bit more difficult, where eventually, especially if you're a new player, you're going to hit a wall. A lot of players with Monster Hunter World, specifically Monster Hunter World from 2016, their wall, proverbial wall, was Anjanath. The first time you meet Anjanath for a lot of players, it can be a little difficult because the monster is a lot more aggressive than the previous monsters that they fought before, but generally it's not the most difficult. Regardless, some players are going to have a hard time with it, and so they might die to it. They might die 3 times, and if they die 3 times in a hunt, the hunt fails. And so you have to start over. And you can just kind of keep banging your head against a wall, and that might work. But eventually, you're going to run into a problem in Monster Hunter where you can't just keep banging your head against a wall. You're going to need to kind of take a step back and think about this a bit more. Okay, I hit another wall. This monster's too difficult. What do I do? And so you look at your weapons and it's like, oh, my weapon is a rarity 1 weapon, but I can craft a rarity 4 weapon. And so you go out and say, hey, okay, well, what parts do I need? Oh, I got to go hunt this monster I've hunted before. Let me go hunt that monster a couple times, craft the upgraded weapon, and then try again. And if you fail again against the wall monster, you go back and say, hey, okay, well, what about my armor? Oh, my armor is all rarity 1. Let me look at the blacksmith. Hey, here's this armor. It works with my weapon. It gives me, some health. And oh, hey, that monster that I was fighting does fire damage. I should get armor that gives me more fire resistance. And so you pull the string. You're pulling the string. You start to pull the string to unravel this wall you're fighting. And eventually, you know, you get your upgraded armor, you get your upgraded weapon, you defeat the wall. And this keeps repeating over and over and over. This constantly hitting a wall and moving past it, hitting a wall and moving past it. And this is how you progress through the game. And this all flows very seamlessly. Capcom, admittingly, has had 20 years, over 20 years, to perfect this formula. And, you know, even in the first games, it was good. They were doing this in the first games anyway. It hasn't changed too much. I mean, it's gotten better. Every single entry is better than the previous one. So I bring these all up to talk about Marathon and my main problem with it and why it kind of feels weird to me. I don't play extraction shooters, not really my forte. I'm not the biggest fan of the style. I was really hoping Marathon would change this for me and I would just immediately enjoy it and they would just do it so much differently. But let me just explain what you're doing and what we're looking at in Marathon. In Marathon, the goal is to, at first, drop into a zone, like I'm doing here, and look for loot and weapons. Preferably better weapons, preferably weapons that are worth a lot, and preferably loot that is worth a lot, whether that be white rarity, green rarity, blue rarity, and so on. And then, once you find that gear, the loot, once you find weapons, your goal is to then extract with the looted gear. Sometimes you can, sometimes you don't. That's kind of the, you know, it's the risk and reward. It's high risk and, you know, the gear that you brought along with you can be lost. And now if you do extract with the loot and the gear you got, you can then sell it and take the credits you got to buy ammo, to buy different packs of weapons that you can then use in other runs. You can buy replacement weapons, replacement ammo, replacement shields and health and all that. And also you can get in the runs, you can get items that allow you to upgrade your contractors. In this game, there's different factions that you work with. They have different progression trees, much like Vampire Survivors, which is why I brought it up. And this is Marathon's kind of roguelite elements that's in the game. So the items you get, the items you pick up, you can use to complete quests that level up these factions. And the level ups in the factions will allow you to progress down the tree some more. Some of the progression in the tree requires certain items. So the different materials you pick up, you either need to use for quests or there's different materials you need for upgrades. And also, I would say in the quests, they're called contracts. They'll give you different objectives that you have to do around the map. And once you do them, you get faction XP. Now, this process of jumping in to a mission, looting it, looting weapons and items, and then extracting, as of right now, from what I understand, this is it. This is all you're really doing. Going in, looting, getting weapons and stuff, extracting, using that material to upgrade your trees, depending on whatever faction you chose. I'm not sure if you can upgrade multiple tree factions or multiple faction trees at once. I'm not sure. But that's kind of it. The goal of going into a run is to essentially upgrade these trees. That's kind of it. Now you are, you know, the gameplay is great. I will say that. So that obviously you're doing it for multiple reasons. The gameplay is good, but like outside of that, some like bigger goal, whatever bigger goal you have, the bigger goal as of right now is just upgrading the trees, getting a higher level in the faction. And so this is kind of it. So as of right now, unless in the full game, it's different. There's not really a wall that you hit, like I was talking about with the previous games. The only wall I could think of is if you are given a contract that you have to finish to keep leveling up your faction, and that requires you to do some more difficult things. There's a very hard enemy in the map that will pop up. I think I'm going to show it here on the map in a second. And I would assume there's a contract, or I'm going to call them a quest. There's a quest where you're going to need to defeat that enemy. There's going to be probably quests where you have to do more and more difficult things. You're going to have to go to more and more difficult maps. But like, other than that, there's not really a wall that you hit. And like, this is where I kind of feel like, there's not really any string to pull at, right? Because like the loot itself can't be valuable. Inherently, the loot can't be valuable. I'm not saying that the loot isn't valuable in that better loot does more damage. So a white weapon, a green weapon, blue, blue does more damage than a white weapon. And it's valuable in that way. But outside of that, you can't really have unique one-of-a-kind weapons because all loot is, losable. You can lose everything. And so because you can lose everything, loot itself can't be inherently valuable. All loot has to be kind of expendable. You can expend all loot, because if loot inherently is, or if the loot is too unique, you're not going to use it. It's just going to sit in your vault. You're going to be too afraid to use it. And so if that's the case, then loot itself, isn't kind of the point, because you're supposed to be able to lose it, right? You're supposed to be able to lose it, be okay with it, and just kind of keep moving on. If the loot's not valuable, then, what else is the goal other than loot, outside of just doing more damage? Well, the upgrades can't really be too intrusive. The upgrades can't be like, hey, you do more damage, you have more health, you have a base shield regen, you reload quicker. Instead, they have to be kind of on the periphery, so that it doesn't really engage too much in the combat. Now, maybe there are skills that do that kind of stuff, that do increase damage and all that. I haven't seen them, but they have the upgrades that you make with the contractors kind of have to be on the periphery of what's happening. That be, hey, you have increased loot speed. Hey, you don't take fall damage, or you take less fall damage. Hey, you get your stamina back quicker. Hey, you get more vault space. It's not really tied to the actual combat, the actual like inherent gunplay, outside of kind of, other things. Otherwise, if it is, then what's happening is a player who's played like 1,000 hours is going to have just complete advantage over someone who's played just a couple hours. And because those two people can meet up, the person with 1,000 hours is just going to pub stomp the 1 hour person. So that's just not fair. So the upgrades can't be, the upgrades can't be intrusive. So if the loot is only important that it does more damage and it's expendable, and the upgrades can't really be too intrusive, I just don't understand like what's the goal here? What wall am I hitting? Like what wall am I hitting? If losing basically everything is normal, like what I outside the gunplay, which is good, I think it's good. Preferably, I would wish the time to kill was maybe 4 or 5 seconds longer than what we just saw. I don't like that kind of quick time to kill. It doesn't really feel fair. It's annoying when it happens to you. We see later on that I basically got hit by a couple bugs. They blew up. I got hit by a gun a couple times and I died. And I lose all my stuff. Now, I had a couple runs yesterday where I essentially just died. I kept dying. I kept losing everything. And so I spent maybe about 45 minutes just kind of losing everything. This is kind of the thing that kind of makes me I just don't really get about this game is what kind of like wall am I trying to overcome? Like what's kind of string am I trying to pull on that then makes me just kind of engage with all the different parts of the game. Because obviously the only real thing to do right now is play the game, and it's fun. Play the game, get loot, and then just kind of throw away that loot so I can get contracts done. And like if I don't throw away the loot, I keep it and I just keep using it until I throw it away. And so like, what's the point? And this is the thing I never got with extraction shooters. I just don't get it. What am I doing this for? I need some kind of like proverbial goal, even if it's like minor, to kind of chase after. I think of Call of Duty camos. You play multiplayer for the little meta game, which is trying to get kill streaks, trying to get kills, trying to play well, enjoying the gameplay. But on the outside, you're doing it for the camos, you're doing it for the reticles, you're doing it for calling cards, or maybe you're trying to prestige. So like there's outside stuff that's kind of getting you to pull the string, right, of the thing you want to do. And Marathon and other extraction shooters, they don't. I just don't see it. Now, like I said before, I don't play many extraction shooters for this specific reason. And like, it's fine if the gameplay's fine. I'm not saying the gameplay's bad. I absolutely love the gameplay. It's perfect. The gunplay's fantastic. It's Bungie. But I mean, that's it. And like the art, I absolutely love this art. It's just amazing. This is one of the best looking games I've literally ever seen. Everything about it, the aesthetics, the design, like everything, the music, the like vibes I get, it's fantastic. And the gameplay is good, but is that going to keep people playing for years? And I was just actually listening to Astacross talk about this, and he was kind of talking about like, what is, what are the content updates going to look like? There's going to be seasons. This is a live service game, but like, what are the seasons going to be bringing to this game that kind of changes it? If it's like core is just kind of surface level. I mean, the gameplay is great, but that doesn't keep people around, because like, what happens when you get all the upgrades? Like, then what? What are you using? Like, the upgrades have to be for something outside of just runs are easier, because the loot has to be used for something. I guess other than just PvP, but like, I mean, is that it? And if it is, I guess that's fine. But I'll be honest here. I don't know why they made this. I just, when I first saw this, I was like, this looks awesome, but like, why are they making this? Extraction shooters are outside of Arc Raiders, even counting Arc Raiders, it's an extremely niche genre. The idea that you can spend literally hours and hours and hours collecting loot, all for you to just lose it within maybe a minute, hours of work just gone within a minute. This type of genre used to exist. It was the hardcore PvP MMO games. Think of Ultima Online. Think of old school RuneScape. That still exists. I understand that. Or nowadays, think of games like Albion Online. RuneScape still exists. But these types of games existed where they were hardcore MMO games where you PvP'd and you would basically lose everything. And that type of genre died. Kind of like, well, yeah, it died. People don't like losing their stuff. And because it becomes kind of like, other than outside the thrill of like chasing that high of like life or death situations, I don't get it. I hope that when Marathon does fully release next week, I hope that it kind of delivers a, oh, I get it moment, where it's like, it does something else. It adds a reason. It adds a wall, and you have to start pulling the string, engaging with all the different mechanics to, kind of keep you playing. And I think Destiny does this very well. At first, you just kind of play and you're thrown into missions, but eventually you kind of want to get better weapons and stuff so that you can do the harder missions, because the harder missions give you more loot, and that loot you can then take into harder missions to take into more interesting content, to do more cool stuff. And so it over time you hit a wall where it's like, oh, you know, I'm struggling with this thing. Let me get some better weapons. Let me get some better armor. Let me try to do some build crafting. Let me get some upgrades. And, you know, you pull the string, you hit the wall, pull the string. And with Marathon, I just don't. It's just a loop of go into a run, loot, escape, get a couple upgrades, and just repeat. And that's fine for like maybe a month. But for Bungie to kind of you know, hitch its truck to this trailer, hitch the truck to this trailer, and for them to put literally hundreds of millions of dollars behind this this extremely niche type of game that I don't know how long they're going to be developing for. I mean, are they going to try for 10 years? I don't know. Obviously they're going to be working on a Destiny 3 next. And I also wonder if in Destiny 3, is there not going to be PvP? Because there's Marathon. If you want to play PvP, go play Marathon. I wonder if that's going to be the strategy. But like, I don't know. I'm kind of worried that this, and I feel like this idea, what we're talking about, of hitting a wall and pulling a string, this is not really something normal people think about. This is not something normal people kind of notice. They only notice that the game at some point gets boring because there's nothing left to do. And I think it's this constantly trying to hit a wall and unravel the game, unravel the walls to get past it to go to the next wall is what really makes games special. This is what makes Monster Hunter Monster Hunter. This is what makes Vampire Survivors Vampire Survivors. You need these kind of outside motivators or these walls that you put up in front of the player to kind of get them to engage with the game on their own. They want to get past the wall. They want to succeed. I mean, look at Dark Souls. Dark Souls is a perfect example. You you play it, you fight an enemy, they're too strong, you can't beat them, you got to go grind up some souls, level up some, and you can. And you keep repeating that because it's addicting. It's an addicting cycle. With all this being said, am I going to buy Marathon? I don't know. I was very excited at first, but after playing it now, I just I don't know. Like I was talking about Astrocross earlier, I've been watching all of his streams. He's been streaming like nonstop. I think he did a 14+ hour stream yesterday, and I think he streamed a lot today. And obviously he's going to be playing a ton. He's a big Destiny 2 content creator here on in the community. And so he's going to be playing it a ton. I'll be watching it, but like these like core problems that I think they just, unless it's in the full game and we're just not seeing it because it's a playtest, you know, I guess we'll have to see how they decide to solve these problems. Will they be able to? I hope so. I just want the best for Bungie. I want them to succeed. And yeah, that's it. That's all I have to say. Yeah. Thanks for watching.